So for today's session, we have an acceleration-focused sprint workout combined with some max approach vertical jumps. Because I don't have access to the basketball hoop here, I am going to do the jumps onto boxes, but the benefit of that is that there's going to be a reduced impact from the landings. The sprinting is going to be 4 sets of 10 meters with a variety of different starts. I'm going to be pairing the 10 meters with different acceleration focused drills, really just to cue better mechanics and just hitting better shapes, better positions, but also feeling fast and explosive. Then I'm going to do 4 sets of 20 meters. The 20 meters, I'm going to pair, so 2 sets of 20 with just regular unloaded. Then I'm going to do 2 sets of 20 with the sled, which I have here. I'm not going to add any weight to the sled. I think reasonably the sled weighs somewhere in the region of 17 to 20 kilograms. So I'm going to hit 2 sets with the sled, and then I'm going to do 2 sets unloaded 30 meters and see if I can get a relatively accurate time with some cones and using frame rate to capture the time. After the sprinting, I'm going to move into some vertical jumps. As I mentioned previously, I'm going to do those on the boxes over there. I'm going to set a timer for 12 minutes. My knees aren't feeling the best today, so I'm going to see how the jumps feel without the impact of the landing. Maybe I'll be able to get more than 12 minutes in. If they're feeling really good and I feel like I'm jumping high, then I'll extend out that time a little bit. If it doesn't feel too good, I'll keep it at 12, maybe even reduce it to 10 minutes. We'll see where we're at. And then we've got a pairing of alternating leg bounds and repeating or rhythmic broad jumps. So alternating leg bounds are going to be for a distance of 20 meters. Those are going to be for speed. And then we've got a rhythmic repeating broad jump. The rhythmic / repeating broad jump is going to be 3 sets of 5 for distance. So the bounds are going to be for speed, and then the repeating broad jumps are going to be for distance. So I'm basically going to be starting from a dead stop and just trying to see how far I can cover in 5 bounds, using cones to measure. I don't have a tape measure with me here today. I'm not going to bother trying to find one in the athletic store cupboard. There probably is one in there, but it's always a bit of a mystery trying to find stuff in there. And then lastly, we've got some accessories. We've got some hamstring bridge drops paired with some Copenhagen planks. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm going to get into my first couple of 10-meter accelerations now. From this line to that line is 10 meters. Really all I'm focusing on here is a high-quality 2-point start for the first 2. And then I'm going to do a nice variation on a kneeling start, so a half-kneeling start for the second 2. Really just cueing good positions, kind of like I was doing on the wall drills there. Trying to make sure that I'm not popping up too fast after the first 2 steps, and also that I'm not trying to spin my feet too fast on the first few steps as well. So being a bit more patient with the steps and the strides. Anyway, let's talk and let's just get into it. The thing I've been contemplating a lot with acceleration sprinting is arm mechanics. First couple of strides, I'm always unsure about like how much to actually open up and split my arms. Obviously on the first few strides, you want to be opening your arms more than you will on the rest of the race if you're running 100 meters or 60 meters. But different sprinters, different abilities, different types of athlete will like really swing their arms out way more, make a huge shape. Some of them will keep their arms a lot tighter. I guess the only way to find out is to experiment and find out what works best. But I've always gone under the assumption that because I'm a more powerful athlete, less of an elastic and speed dominant athlete, wide ISA type athlete, I generally want to have a bigger, more powerful arm swing and keep the longer, wider arm swing for the first few strides. Obviously, at some point in the race, you are going to have to bring it in and come tighter with it, with the arm swings, but I find it difficult with the coordination to bring them tighter after the first few strides and make it more gradual. I kind of tend to do like 1 or 2 big ones and then just go tight after that. So I guess that's another intention for the sprint session, more gradually bring in the arms and bring them tighter, as opposed to just doing it after the first 2. Anyway, that's one 10-meter sprint down. Then you get the second one down. So that was a right foot start. I'm gonna do a left foot start. Then we're gonna do the kneeling starts. For the express purpose of sprint technique gains, I'm gonna do those 2 10-meter starts again, but from a side angle before I get into the kneeling starts. Maybe it's just my compulsiveness, maybe it's just because I want to make my start a lot better, but I want to get like a different angle. It's very hard to see exactly what's happening if the camera is kind of like more face on in an acceleration. You can only really see like how quickly the torso pops up, but you can't really see what's happening with the shapes. So I'm going to do one from this angle as well, see how it looks. I also completely forgot that I did have my sprinting spikes in the locker here, so I'm going to put those on for the 2 half kneeling starts, and then get into the complex that I was going to do with the sled sprints and the 20-meter sprints. I think I will also time the 20-meter sprints, or see if I can get a relatively accurate time with the 20-meter sprints, get a couple of cones out, and then see how well I can do it in post-editing. Again, I've just realized that this camera isn't 60 frames per second, it's only 30 frames. It can only record in the most frames of 30 frames per second, but so whatever that means for the timing, probably not going to be super accurate, but as long as I'm using the same camera to record it every time and I'm using the same standards, i.e. like same part of my chest or arm or leg crossing the line every single time, then at least every time I measure it will be the same amount of inaccurate. Like using the same bathroom scales to weigh yourself every day. Almost all scales are somewhat inaccurate based on like the floor that you put them on. So as long as you use the same scales every single time, if you're tracking weight loss or you're tracking your weight, it doesn't really matter all that much. Okay, these are pretty tight on my feet. I know that sprinting spikes should be pretty snug on your feet, but these feel pretty tight around my toes. I don't know if you can see the difference here, but like look at the width of the shoes and how different they are. These are definitely not like a wide toe box sprinting shoe. I don't know if there are any sprinting shoes that do have wide toe box, kind of like these Zero barefoot shoes. Link in the description, by the way. I don't know if there are any. I basically bought these secondhand off eBay. They just so happen to be the right size, but like they're the right size in length, but they're definitely not the right size in terms of width of the toe box. So they're a little bit uncomfortable, but you know, some spikes on a track are better than no spikes on a track if you want to run a little bit faster and you also want to have better traction on the track. So those 2 half kneeling starts now, one on the left side, one on the right side, 10 meters again, then we'll get into our 20 meters. This is the athletic track outside. It is very cold up here in Aberdeen in Scotland. So grateful to have an indoor track. Benefit of going from like a sled sprint into a unloaded sprint is that the load of the sled forces you into more exaggerated acceleration mechanics, and because you've had to exaggerate on the previous set and then going into an unloaded set, I think the theory is that it gives you like a proprioceptive benefit, so you can feel what the positions look like a lot more in the exaggerated kind of like slower sled position, and then you can then hopefully carry some of those mechanics, those more, you have more time, you have a longer time frame with a heavier sled to get the right acceleration mechanics. So the intent here is really just getting good acceleration mechanics with the sled and then seeing if that carries over into the 20 meters without the sled. I haven't run with a sled in the best part of like 4 or 5 months now. I seem to remember the last time I was running with sleds, it was back in the summer last year. And that was around the time when I was suffering with some Achilles tendonitis. So I really had to just cut out sprinting and jumping volume for quite a long period of time while my Achilles healed. So it does feel good to be back on the sled. It feels a little bit weird doing weighted sprints because I don't have any facility to do them any other time than here when I'm here in this track. And I very rarely come here. So obviously it's nice to take advantage of it when you have it, but there is definitely an adjustment period when it comes to doing sled work when you haven't done it in a little while. All right, rep 2 with the sled. Let's get into it. So that rep, I did exactly what I did not want to do, that I said I was going to do at the start, that I didn't want to do what I was working on at the start of the session. Popped up too fast. I think that I, on the first couple of strides, probably over pulled the sled horizontally, and then the stride after that, I kind of like had to pop up, otherwise I would have fallen over. But there was definitely a stride where like I was anticipating for my foot to hit the ground, and there was nothing there. You'll see it back on replay. Maybe I just completely explained it in the opposite way, but that definitely wasn't as good as the first one. Nonetheless, I'm going to get into my unloaded 20-meter sprint now, and I'm going to see how fast I can do it after full rest. Okay, so that was the 20-meter acceleration complex. I'm now going to open up last 2 gates to 30 meters. I'm going to time 2 30-meter accelerations. Again, no reaction time, just going off of first movement and seeing how fast I can actually go. So I just decided, for the sake of variability, and also just so I can see if it makes a difference in the time, I'm going to do one of my 30-meter times with a 2-point start, and then I'm going to do one of my 30-meter times with a 3-point start. See if the 3-point start actually makes a difference for me, if I've actually got enough experience with 3-point start to take advantage of that lower, more horizontal torso angle to start the race, or to start the rep. But we will have to see. I'm going to do these all off my strongest start, just so I've got some continuity between all the starts, always starting off of the right leg. Yeah, let's get into it. Felt like there was a couple of strides there within the first 5, 6, 7, 8, where, like I did on the sled, I guess it's like an overstride. You overstride, you feel like there's going to be ground. You feel like you've recovered your heel maybe a little bit too high, and then you're anticipating the ground to be in a certain place, and then your foot goes a little bit further than you expect it to. So it kind of feels like you're pushing onto air a little bit too long, but not bad. I mean, it felt fast. All sprints feel fast when you're going maximum speed. Only the time is going to hopefully tell us exactly how fast we went there, but it definitely felt fast. So that was our 3-point start. Let's see if running the 2-point start, same distance, is faster, slower, same speed. Who knows? Let's see. I've got a sneaking suspicion that was probably slightly faster than my 3-point start, because I had those few strides during the 3-point start where I felt like I overstrided a little bit. Don't know what the actual exact terminology is, but that rep definitely felt faster than the last one. But anyway, that's all the sprints finished. I'm now going to get into my vertical jumps onto the boxes, see how high we can go, and then we will also get onto our bounding drills. That box right there is 24 inches high. I'm just gonna start with 24. Again, I'm doing both approaches, left, right, right, left. I may even also throw in some single leg jumps as well. The intent here is max intent vertical jump for height. As I said before, knees aren't feeling the best. If the jumps are feeling good, then I'll extend out the time. If they're not feeling good, then I'll just cut it 10 minutes and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, last two-footed approach on the box. On these ones, I'm really just gonna open up and try and extend my approach a little bit more, see if that can make any difference, like coming a bit more straight on, still adding a curve in, of course, but see if I can add a little bit more velocity into my takeoff for the jump and see if I can actually clear the box a little bit more. Whoa. Okay, let's get into it. Woo. Oh, damn. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.